Hello boys and girls, thank you for joining me. I would like to introduce you to my little friend, Coco the Bean. This is a book that was written by my dad, Simon Dunn Chocolatier, aka Papa Choc. Now this is about a cocoa bean that comes to life and tells the story of how all the beans around him are turned into chocolate. Wonderful world of chocolate, seen through the eyes of Coco the Bean. Deep in a Hessian sack, surrounded by hundreds and thousands of cocoa beans, lay a very special, talented chap who was different from all of those around him. He was given the gift of life. He could see, hear, talk, listen and think, but most of all, he is able to tell the real story about the thing we all love, chocolate, because he is Coco the Bean. Cocoa came from Ghana and was grown on the Theobroma cacao tree. His life began when a flower was pollinated by hand by a cocoa farmer. The flower grew into a cocoa pod, which was cut from the tree and split open. The beans were then left to ferment under banana leaves. They were then spread out on a table and left to dry in the hot, humid rainforest sunshine. Along with all the other cocoa beans, cocoa was put in a sack ready to be sent to the chocolate factory. Coco was so lucky. He was picked as a sample of a perfect cocoa bean. He was put in a clear jar on the shelf in Charlie the chocolate salesman's office at the chocolate factory. It was here he was shown off as a perfect example to all the visitors. He wasn't alone though, as there were lots of other cocoa beans on the shelf, but they weren't like him. One night, when everyone had gone home, he wanted to see how the chocolate was made and managed to wriggle his way out of the jar, climb down the shelving, squeeze under the door and begin his journey to the chocolate factory.
Oof!
It was easy to find because with every door that he went through, the wonderful smell got stronger and stronger, so he knew he was getting closer. As he was only small, it took him a long time to reach the room where the chocolate was made. And by the time he did, all the workers were ready for another day's work, as it was morning. Coco couldn't believe his eyes. There were sacks and sacks of cocoa beans, all stacked up near the big machines. There was a man cutting open the sacks, pouring the beans into the machine. Coco didn't like what he could see. All the beans were being crushed into tiny pieces called nibs, which looked painful, but he remembered he was so different from all of them. Happy that the beans couldn't feel anything, he wanted to get a closer look. As he leant over the machine, he saw the big roller, but slipped and fell into the machine. He was now in danger of being crushed with all the other beans, so he began running away from the big roller, but he wasn't getting anywhere. He knew there was only one way out, which was to jump as high as he could, and after 2 attempts, he managed to jump right out of the machine to safety on the ground. He was now exhausted and decided to keep away from the machines. He found a safe place standing on the scales in the chocolate factory. He watched as the crushed nibs went through meshes which made them even smaller. They were mixed with sugar and milk, passed through rollers, then pressed into a smooth paste, which was now stirred and heated to create a wonderful silky milk chocolate. The machine squirted the liquid chocolate onto a moving plastic conveyor belt. which went into a cooling tunnel to let the small chocolate drops set into milk chocolate buttons. Ever curious, he climbed into one of the cardboard boxes to begin another adventure. In the warehouse at the chocolate factory, the boxes were loaded onto a big truck. He was excited to see what could happen next. The truck delivered the chocolate boxes at a chocolatier's chocolate shop. Coco climbed out of the cardboard box and couldn't believe his eyes. There were so many different things being made here out of chocolate. He wanted to stay to find out how. He stood on the small chocolate machine and watched the chocolatier begin melting the chocolate buttons and start filling the chocolate machines. The chocolatier was making lots of different posh chocolates which were put into fancy boxes. He also made chocolate lollipops with names and funny messages written on them, and nice shapes like bunnies, motorbikes, and frogs. Coco even saw the chocolatier making a chocolate ear. This really made him chuckle.
Oh, gosh!
It made Coco really happy when mums, dads, boys and girls came into the shop. There was something for all of them. Dad had a solid chocolate domino. Mum had some pretty chocolates with nice patterns on them. The little boy had a chocolate motorbike, and his sister was so happy with a pink chocolate teddy. Coco was really curious to find out more about chocolate, but how would he get back to the factory? Luckily, whilst he was in the shop, he heard a voice he recognised from the factory. It was Charlie, the chocolate salesman, who was calling to see if the chocolatier wanted to buy more chocolate. Not to miss the chance of a trip back to the factory and learn more, Coco ran across the floor and managed to climb into Charlie's briefcase. Just as he was finishing his coffee and saying goodbye, ready to return to the chocolate factory. Happily back, safe and sound on the shelf in Charlie's office, Coco noticed a jar next to him which was labelled odd beans. There were beans of all shapes and sizes in there, not perfect like him. He chuckled to himself as some of them looked really funny. Then suddenly he saw one of the beans move. At first he thought he was dreaming as he was starting to feel sleepy after such a busy day. He shouted, "Hello, is anybody there?" And a very odd-shaped bean opened its eyes and shouted back, "Hey, yes, it's me, Oddie!" Coco yelled, "Hooray, I'm Coco! Wait till you see what happens to us." Well, boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed the adventures of Coco the Bean. Until next time, peace, love, chop and roll.